I want to show you the stupidity, the mindless group-thinking barbarity of the left, caught on video. The stupidity that, with identity politics, is killing Western civilization in countries like the United States and Australia, like a cancer of the brain. It was at an international Marxism conference on the weekend. More than 1,000 people, ignoring how every Marxist revolution has ended in tyranny, they were actually chanting for yet another revolution. In fact, they even bought tickets for a conference that advertised a guest appearance from Joseph Stalin. I kid you not. Well, no, not the genocidal tyrant who led the Soviet Union and killed millions and millions and millions, but a Sri Lankan education union boss whose parents actually named him in the dictator's honour. He was one of many international speakers at this three-day Marxist conference in Australia at the University of Melbourne, and attended by these officials and members of the union representing university staff in Australia, teaching the next generation. How scary is that? In fact, stick around, you haven't heard the worst at all. But let me first give you a little context before I get to that. Last Friday in Israel, a Palestinian man deliberately rammed his car into a group of foreign tourists in Tel Aviv, injuring several and killing one of them, Italian Alessandro Perini, who actually liked Palestinians enough to wear their traditional keffiyeh. But that didn't save him. Because, you know, identity politics, that poison. Because what counts these days is not who you are, but what you are. And if you're not a Palestinian, well, bang. The very same day, last Friday, this time near an Israeli settlement in the West Bank, Palestinian terrorists intercepted a car carrying a British-Israeli woman and her two Britain-born daughters, aged 20 and 15. And they shot it up, they forced it to crash, and then they fired again, killing the two sisters and leaving their mother critically injured, and their father, a rabbi, and friends grieving over their bodies. Now, Palestinian sympathisers quickly tweeted pictures they claimed were of these two sisters, armed with assault weapons as if they were Israeli military, and calling them terrorists. Well, the photos were actually fakes. These are the two sisters, different women entirely, and the youngest was just 15, so clearly could never have been in the army. But never mind all that, no fewer than 5 Palestinian extremist groups, including the Marxist Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, backed the two attacks on Saturday and said, well, it's all Israel's fault anyway. Now, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, by the way, says Israel shouldn't exist at all. And it's listed by the US State Department as a terrorist group. It made its reputation first by hijacking aeroplanes. It's also been listed in Australia and is under sanctions there. But the very day after those attacks, this Marxism conference at Melbourne University had as its speaker Lian Kayed, who'd once been jailed by Israel for allegedly throwing stones and being member of a student group affiliated with the same Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the terrorist group. Now that's extraordinary enough. At one of Australia's top 2 universities this is happening. But what followed showed everything that's wrong with the modern left, or maybe always was a problem with the left, as in with all collectivist groups. Kayed actually led the crowd there at this conference into a chant in Arabic calling for the bloody liberation of Palestine, which to the Popular Front means the destruction of Israel, in fact, and the chant being, with our souls, with our blood, we will liberate you, Palestine. And whether the Marxists in the room, taxpayers subsidised, no doubt, many of them, whether they understood in their comfortable little homes what was actually meant by that chant or not, almost everyone joined in, fists raised. That is identity politics. That is groupthink. Never mind the facts, whatever, just go with the room, with the vibe, and ignore what this resistance actually looks like. Ignore who it kills. Just call for a revolution and for blood, as long as it's not your own, because, well, you know, you're Marxist and they're not. That's the toxic inhumanity of identity politics that demonizes opponents as somehow faceless or at least subhuman. But what a success all this was at this conference of Marxists. A ton, and quite literally a ton, of books were sold because Marxists write an awful lot of these things. After all, they have to create a fictional world because they don't actually live in the real one. And the organisers of this conference claimed, well, all these people at the end of it, they're leaving better connected, better informed, and more determined than ever to build a revolutionary socialist current that can stand up to and defeat capitalism, which is actually your freedom to buy and sell and work as you wish. They want to destroy that. And you may say, well, look, Marxists, communists, who listens to them, you know? And yet on the streets, you see them, or people inspired by them, movements hijacked by them. Extinction Rebellion, for instance, blocking streets, particularly in Britain, also in Australia, to save the world from the fake climate crisis, which this Marxist conference, by the way, claims is caused by capitalism. You also see them with their red flags on the street, trying to shut down feminists defending women's rights from the transgender movement. More identity politics. And right now in Australia, this former member of the National Committee of the Communist League, Marsha Langton, has helped to design a kind of Aboriginal-only advisory parliament that Australians are going to vote for this year to change their constitution forever, to divide the nation by race, and all with the help, by the way, the backing of a socialist left Prime Minister. Marxism dead? Well, it should be, like its tens and tens of millions of victims. But you watch. What you don't resist will grow again. And now is the age, once more, of the old tribes, the brainless and the lost of both right and particularly now the left, searching once more for power over you.